have a few exciting topics today. Obviously, do a bit of a price discussion, market analysis. Fabio was definitely right from last week to this week. We did have a new all-time high. That was a discussion, if you remember, last week before we did the Twitter space. The Bitcoin futures ETF wasn't live yet, so we didn't really know how the market was going to react to it. And we did have a relatively strong response. It has tapered off a bit since then, and we're going to discuss this a bit and kind of discuss a bit what does this mean, where are we going from there. I would love to address a couple of updates that we have on the platform, obviously give you a bit of a sneak peek, what's happening, what's coming up, and obviously address your questions. If you have any questions, then simply tweet at me or tweet at Cake DeFi or at Cake DeFi, sorry, just the handle. Then, yeah, that will allow us to kind of address those questions. For those of you that joining this Twitter space for the first time, the format is always the same. It's myself as the CEO and co-founder of the company. We always address the market, talk about the platform, invite some team members. And today we have Fabio, who's gonna have a few discussion points together with me. And also we have our security kind of specialist in the company. And we have, I think, cybersecurity months at the moment. So we're gonna hear a few things and ideas on what do we do at Cake to make sure your funds are secure and the processes are secure and everything. So that's going to be quite a treat for you. And if you see his profile here, payload artist. So if you actually click on it, you'll see that quite a following. He's quite known in the space on purpose. I'm not going to address him by name because I know that he does do a lot of things and is very kind of experienced there. So I'm gonna keep this anonymous on purpose, actually. Cool. With that, Fabio, what are we gonna start with? Maybe how was the last week? The community sentiment, how was the markets? Maybe let's dive a bit in there, kind of reflect a bit. Obviously, congratulations. You were right on predicting a new all-time high. I was wrong. I didn't expect that. What have you seen over the past week?
Yeah, it's definitely the sentiment is super bullish. I think we had 3 ETFs launching. We had MasterCard announcing that they will, or that they are looking into offering crypto payments to all their merchants. So there's definitely a lot happening. We saw a very short and brief altcoin pump, or lots of altcoins were pumping for a few days, but it's not really sustainable, I guess, because Bitcoin did not follow through. Like we broke the all-time high, and first we did a retest, but we broke down again. So it's probably going to take another day or a week, maybe more, until we go higher again. But the sentiment is definitely super bullish. If you look at the fear and greed index, I think we're at 78. If you look at Twitter in general, the community, like I think the Moon, he's a very big YouTuber. He had a poll today and asked people, what are we going to see next? 73 or 53, and I think 80% of the people think that we're bullish, that we're going higher, and everybody's talking about 6 figures, 100K or maybe even more. So I think the sentiment is definitely bullish. Lots of people are still questioning or asking when alt season. I think that's a little bit of the main points the community is talking about right now.
What's really interesting is if you look at the fear and greed index exactly a year ago, and you compare the fear and greed index to today, it's actually almost on the percentage point exact. And it was in the mid 70s, and then it kind of did another jump at the end of the month. And that was also the time when then suddenly altcoin season started, and it stayed up in the 80s and 90s all the way till I think the 10th of January. So what do you think? Is this going to be a bit of a repeat this year? Do you see some similarities there? I mean, obviously no one knows the future.
Yeah, for me, definitely. There's so many similarities, not only with last year, 2020, but also with 2017. Both years, we actually made new all-time highs in October. I think in 2020, it was the 20th of October. This year, it was the 21st of October. And we kind of follow along with what happened in 2017 quite nicely. If you overlay a fractal, if you look at the chart, if you look at technical analysis, we kind of follow the same pattern we were following in 2017. And if you overlay those two, that would mean a Bitcoin price of almost $200,000 US dollars. I think by the end of the year. Of course, there are lots of different theories like lengthening cycle and diminishing returns. So every cycle we had a little bit less return than the one before, and every cycle took a little bit longer than the one before. But it's hard to say because we only have 3 real data points. So everybody is of course looking at at the history, what happened before, and takes that as an indicator what could happen this time. But yeah, nobody actually knows. And of course everything is a little bit different right now. We have the 3 ETFs, I think Valkyrie, BitO, and VanEck are the 3 that launched within the last 10 days. And we have lots of other clearly bullish things happening. Also, Jack Dorsey getting like a super viral tweet with him talking about hyperinflation. So I guess there's lots of exciting things happening at the moment.
Man, there was some back and forth there. Kathy Wood jumping in saying, like, CEO ARK Invest jumping in saying she doesn't believe in the hyperinflation scenario, more in a deflationary. Then Elon jumped in under Kathy Wood and like was like, yeah, especially short term, we definitely see some inflation. Man, it went like, and then like obviously you had all the very traditional kind of economists who then said, like, don't talk about this hyperinflation stuff. It never happens. It was an insane, wild tweet, huh?
I think Jack Dorsey has a very unique perspective on this, and I kind of trust him in when he says something, because as the CEO of Cash App, they have like a 360 view of people's salary, of merchants charging prices, because Cash App is like a 360 integration, and they do have a lot of data on that. So I guess he has his reason when he goes and makes a statement like this. But yeah, it's a heated discussion. Everybody's jumping in.
And in the company also, I'm always a bit of the more cautious person. It kind of is reflected in how we hold the treasury and how we approach, I don't know, security and how we approach decision making. I'm definitely a calculated risk taker, but as a whole, I'm surely very cautious. And it just always reminds me during town hall on Friday, whenever there's when salaries are paid out, I'm the first person who says, "Hey, listen, people, don't speculate your salary on crypto. Minimum exchange out what your daily or any monthly expenses are." And then I know that there's always people who are like, "Oh no, dude, like all in Bitcoin, like you don't trade anything out." So it's always very interesting to see a bit this. And obviously, I mean, on the one hand, I totally agree that there's a lot of bullish sentiment, right? And you've listed out some really great points. But I do want to kind of throw in a little bit and see a bit, Fabio, what you hear in the community. What are the discussion points? Then what do other influencers kind of talk about this? And my kind of discussion point is a bit that the carrot that was wiggled in front of all the Bitcoin investors is this Bitcoin futures ETF. And obviously it's not spot based, it's futures based. And we haven't really seen the contango going up, meaning the futures haven't really pulled prices up. On the other hand, we actually saw a lot of short interest. We saw a lot of put options. So people actually betting relatively bearish on the price, right? And I think part of the reason why we did go up to 67 was because people were so euphoric. And I mean, especially the ProShares ETF, BITO, had such a phenomenal start. And then people were like, holy crap, that's going to go totally parabolic. And then kind of just stalled a bit. And so I feel, and it's just a bit of a gut feeling, right? We're in a bit of a waiting phase right now. That to me can obviously be a very explosive phase to the top if there's a spot-based ETF being approved next month, but it can also end in tears if it doesn't, and the Bitcoin price, and with that, probably most of crypto actually starts falling off. Now, I still believe the way more likely scenario is going up, but I'm always someone who tries to argue the counterpoint, tries to argue devil's advocate. For me, I get super scared when I hear this from you, right? That 80% of people believe that 73,000 is going to be the next thing on Twitter, right? So I don't know. What am I like the only lunatic, basically, kind of having these thoughts that are to me reasonable, or do you see a bit of this cautious sentiment as well? Are there people who are sharing this as well?
The people are definitely more bullish than bearish, but what worries me a bit is, especially that have been in the market in 2017 and have been in a full bull cycle and a full bear cycle, the dominant discussion, especially amongst, let's call them advanced crypto people, everybody wants to play this cycle. And this is what worries me, because lots of people, they actually think they can time the cycle and play the cycle. So they think, and this is what I hear the most, especially from people that are in the market a long time. Everybody has their targets, maybe 100K, maybe 150, or somewhere in that direction. So what they want to do is they want to hold Bitcoin, they want to wait for alt season, then they want to shift over into altcoins, then they want to cash out their altcoins and go into stablecoin or diversify a little bit. And this personally worries me a lot, because the people that have been in crypto since 2016 and 2017, they actually have a decent amount of money invested. And it's always, you also say this a lot, not everybody can make money. It's just how markets work. Not everybody can get rich. And if everybody has the same strategy, most likely it will not play out. So in my personal opinion, it will either, we never reach 100K and everybody's waiting, or we overshoot to the upside. But most of the, and most people will miss the majority of the bull market. But I personally tend that one of these two scenarios is more likely, because everybody's waiting for the same thing. And in my mind, I cannot see a scenario where everybody's getting rich.
Yeah, I mean, to kind of throw in a couple of things here that in German, I do make a little bit more videos on YouTube, so sometimes I give more comments on there, but like here in the English side, I definitely want to catch up on a few things. So a couple of things, I totally see what Fabio's saying, and I just want to kind of, and I think in general, the Cake DeFi users are way more of a long-term focused kind of bunch of people, and it stems from u-zyn and myself being the exact same. We are long-term hodlers. Yes, I know I did sell some Bitcoins last week, but you need to see this in a grand scheme of things. And I explained that quite extensively on why I did. And it was only Bitcoin. I didn't sell any of the altcoins, didn't sell any ETH, didn't sell any DeFi chain. It was specifically Bitcoin. And I want to put this a bit into perspective. First of all, statistically speaking, over 90%, 90 of car accidents that end fatal, right? Death. Guess when the person started to brake. After impact. 90% of fatal impacts in car accidents are because the person either didn't have time to brake, or didn't realize the danger, didn't react, and just didn't brake until after impact. Imagine this. So the point here is, most people that drive, they think, yeah, you know what? I'm always going to have enough time to brake. I'll always brake. I can take some risks. The thing is, in 99% of times, you probably can. But it's those 1% when you get totally surprised. And that's when you're way too late with everything. And to me, it's the best example was April. I mean, did you notice the top in April? Were you ready to sell in April? If no, then welcome. It's exactly that point where, well, you started braking after impact. Way too late. Because you probably would have started braking at the minus 50%, because that was kind of the bottom. And then maybe even in September, when all the emotions kind of went super south, when we had this extra dip, even though it was more than expected, right? And we had discussed this actually here on the spaces. So kind of separate yourself from that like thought that you can actually time the market. I don't think anyone can. I think a lot of people who say they can, they get lucky once or twice. It's fooled by randomness, but as a whole, it can't. And I think at the end, that's what the strategy that it's about long-term hodling, get cash flow in your crypto makes just way more sense. So now, obviously, the question is, why did I sell part of my crypto holdings, or specifically my Bitcoin holdings last week? And I made a video about this. It was very public. It was just because I wanted to also raise some awareness that you cannot predict the market. You may have a very strong opinion on inflation and deflation, stagflation, and you might be very well versed on the macro and on the micro. You might be the best crypto experts, and you may know all the other CEOs and founders and companies, and you might have the best insights into governments and regulation and blah, 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 blah. I promise you, your convictions about the future are probably not correct. So you might have a feeling and a bit of a direction, but I think it's impossible for any one of us to be like sure that a price is going to do a certain thing. So the only thing that, in my opinion, and it's actually going to be relevant, because going forward over the next couple of years, when Cake is going to be adding more assets, stock and bonds and real estate and precious metals and commodities, and really kind of spread out into what the vision has always been, to be this one-stop platform for all your finances, right? At the end, we need to help people make decisions in what to invest in, and at the end, the person still has to make their own decision, but we need to help them. So the question is, how do you help someone if it's very tricky to make decisions for the future, because for no one, it's possible to predict it? At the end, if you believe that you're like the super expert and you can predict and you can time, good luck. You're gonna probably get schooled, and you're probably gonna get taught like that you can't. But there's two things you can, and that is obviously always based on the past. And it's based on what did the asset class that you're investing in, what did this do in the past? And it's not a guarantee that history repeats, but it's very likely that it rhymes. So something similar may happen again. And I think that is a key aspect. And there's actually mainly there's, let's say, there's three aspects that you need to consider when investing into any asset class. And that's also important for Bitcoin. And you will see over the next year, this is how a lot of the decision-making trees for you on Cake will be designed and will be shown to you. Right at the moment, it's only crypto. But over the next 12 months, this will really open up. At the end, it's about three things. It's about your time horizon. And if you're investing into any coin right now, and your time horizon is year-end, Bitcoin has to be at 100,000. Man, at year-end, Ethereum has to be at 10,000. Man, year-end, DeFi chain has to be at $20. Sure, all these scenarios can happen. But if your only way of success is if this is the outcome you want to have, I can assure you, your odds are really going down. And the probability of you winning is just really tricky. So it's very difficult if you give yourself a very short time horizon for how long are you willing to hold that asset? And in Bitcoin and in crypto in general, we have just seen that this is a really key kind of cycle. Now, we don't know if this was random or if this is repeated. Again, Fabio mentioned that we only have 3 data points so far, and it's not that many. So, but still, in theory, if you are making any kind of investment decision, if you're holding any kind of asset in crypto, you definitely want to hold it for longer than 4 years. It may happen shorter, but maybe it's not. And so I think that is a very key part. So when I made an investment decision last week, it always comes down to this question. Do I want to hold these assets for the next 4 years? And I wasn't willing to hold a certain amount of my portfolio for the next 4 years in this one asset class, right? So that was the first part. The second question I need to ask myself is, okay, what's expected to happen during those 4 years? What's the very likely volatility? Most people, especially amateurs, confuse volatility with risk. And that's completely incorrect. Actually, a statement that you hear a lot is that return comes from risk. To me, that just shows that you're really, really amateur. Professional investors understand that this is absolutely not the case. We're going to talk about risk. It's actually the third component to all that. But volatility can actually be measured. You have something like a Sharpe ratio that measures the down volatility with an upward volatility. So what you optimally want to have, you want to have a high Sharpe ratio. And Bitcoin has an extremely high Sharpe ratio, higher than most other investment classes. But it also has a really, really high volatility. So it does have high returns, but it has really high volatility to the bottom. And that is the next key part. You need to ask yourself, what is very likely for Bitcoin to happen over those 4 years? And it's very likely that Bitcoin will see another 60, 70, 80% downtrend and a drop. Yes, I know a lot of people say, oh, this is never going to happen. Sure, until it will. And so far, it is always done. So I think over the next 4 years, we'll see another maybe 60, 70% drop down. And so my question here is, do I want to hold this asset for the next 4 years? And am I willing to take a 60, 70% drop? Is that okay for me? And that is the key question that you need to kind of start your decision trees in. And if you do that, you will have a way higher chance of making better decisions. And again, you cannot predict the future as much as I can because no one knows, right? I mean, who 2 years ago would have predicted this is how the next 2 years are going to play out? Come on, no one of us, right? But it was unbelievable how the decision tree would have completely changed. So the point here is the following. If you sit here and you make these short-term decisions for year-end and you bet your entire house on this, whoa, you're taking massive risk that I think can be very tricky and very dangerous. However, if you go about this and say, you know what, I'm okay with this over the next 4 years, and man, hey, if in December the price goes up and it's like at 120, 130,000, even better, then you're having a really good decision tree. So the point that I want to make in all of this is that actually in a year's time, right, when you come to Cake, that's actually kind of a bit of the Q&A dialogue that we're going to be having, you with the platform, right? Because you need to kind of decide, are you okay in investing and getting cash flow from various assets? Because at the end, we need to understand for how long are you willing to kind of commit with this money? What is your volatility kind of tolerance? And so when people ask me, why did you sell part of your Bitcoins at 62,000? It's very simple, because that part of the money, I wasn't willing to commit for another 4 years. And I wasn't willing to take another 40, 50, 60, 70% possible loss on that in between. And I just wasn't willing. I had other ideas. And that is the only reason. It's not about an opinion about Bitcoin going up, because I don't know, right? I hope it goes up, but I don't know. And that is just such an important decision-making tree here that would remove all the emotions or most of the emotions and puts a lot of reasons in. And if you understand it, actually, you understand how perfect Cake fits into that entire picture, because Cake is about the long-term hodling. And that is exactly what we see. We see those customers come in and we see that they are long-term hodlers. They're not the typical traders, right? They're not this, hey, I need to get rich quick. They have a long time horizon. And I can assure you, these are generally the people who have a way higher chance in succeeding in investing than those that need to get rich quick over the next week or so. So I just want to throw that in, right? And I want to throw this in because I hope this helps you a bit on the one hand, a bit with your decision making right now when taking profits. Again, you don't have to sell it all. You don't have to buy it all. You can sell just 5% of your holdings. And at the same time, your right expectations. To me, it's really tricky and dangerous, especially in the cycle right now, when you're saying, hey, I'm only going to sell, like Fabio mentioned, when the price hits 150,000. What if it doesn't? What if it doesn't hit 100,000, 150,000? What's going to happen? Are you gonna just keep hodling? What's gonna be the plan? Are you gonna after a year's time, because your time horizon is 9 months? I mean, like we can always play this game, and this game is you're very familiar with this game. The game is, do you consider yourself an above average driver? And of course, the majority, so more than half, consider themselves an above average driver, which is impossible because one half is better, the other half is worse. But we can flip this around by saying, what's your time horizon when investing in Bitcoin? And most people, when they hear that, they say, oh, you know, my time horizon like 1 or 2 or 3 years, so a couple years. Great, fantastic. What do you think is the average time horizon of most other Bitcoin investors? Well, suddenly it drops down to like 6 months. So reality is that actually yourself probably as well, your actual time horizon is about 6 months. That's just fact. Of course, some can resist, some don't, but that's a fact. And the reason why this is so important is because you may totally overestimate your tolerance to risk, tolerance to volatility, tolerance to not getting the returns. And so I just want to throw this out there. It was very interesting hearing an interview with Plan B, I think last week or something. I can't remember where I heard that snippet, somewhere on Twitter, where he also cautioned a bit and said he doesn't believe at the moment in a bit of a super cycle. He thinks it's going to happen a bit later. It was interesting to see how he covered his bets a bit. Now, I believe, again, we're going to be very bullish, but I just want to kind of throw this in. Long monologue here. Fabio, anything that you want to add here, or anything that you see a bit different, or anything that you want to comment on?
I agree with almost every point you mentioned. What I personally do is I'm in talks with in Telegram, over Twitter, and also in my personal like on WhatsApp or with friends. I talk about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies a lot, and I think it's very important to understand there are some basic. We are really spoiled in this space. We everybody that has been in the markets since a few years, or also the people that entered in the beginning of this year, everybody is in profit right now, or almost everybody, like 95%. But and people tend to overestimate themselves because they made some good decisions, they're up in profits. But a normal return for a normal investor, 10%, 15% a year, is a good return. Like in the normal world, here in the crypto space, people are really spoiled a little bit, and I think it comes down to some basic things like have a long time horizon. Maybe 4 years is, in my opinion, even a low time horizon. If you're investing, why not have an investment time horizon of 10 years or 15 years? And also go back to some basic strategies like dollar cost average. Don't go all in. Don't invest with money you don't have. So you need to have like 90 days, 180 days, maybe even a year of fiat on the side, just in case something happens and you don't need to go into your crypto investments to take the money out, because most people actually are pretty okay with not selling when they are underwater, because they know, okay, I'm down 30%, so I'm not going to sell. But it's a completely different story when you sit on unrealized gains. If you're up 10x, if you're up 15x, and you see a sudden drop, people kind of tend to panic. And as you always say, it's really important to control your own emotions. Take some money off the table so you sleep well at night. And I completely agree with everything you said. Long time horizon, dollar cost average, and maybe get some cash flow on it. If you know that you're going to hold an asset for 4 or 5 years, maybe even 10 years, take a portion of these assets and put it into Cake. Get some nice cash flow on it.
100% agree. I mean, one point I want to address here, obviously, last Friday, I think it was last Friday, I don't know when we actually made the announcement. We made the announcement that we have to disallow US based customers from using our lending service. I think last Friday was the announcement, right, Fabio? I'm not sure.
Yeah, Thursday or Friday last week, yeah.
Maybe quick, I want to address that. As most of you probably know, we're undergoing a PCAOB audit, which is in the US. So they are like they're auditing us as if we were a public company. So it's like completely like all our books get checked, all our policies, risks, compliance, adherence, all these things, right? So it's like an entire as like Coinbase, right? It's exactly the same kind of thing. Going through this will give you as a customer the exact same assurances as Coinbase is basically giving its investors. If we were to decide, it would allow us to actually go public as well. Again, if we wanted to, who knows? Maybe we don't want to. Maybe we want to. Let's see. But with that, the auditor simply said they don't think we would have any issues, but it may actually cause some struggles, especially if we then publish the audit and maybe if we make further plans. And for that, it's purely a risk-based approach for us, right? Look, our US audience is relatively small. It's not our target audience. Most of our customers either sit in Southeast Asia, which is where we're based, or in Europe. And this is actually our target audience. That's also why, maybe fun side note, here in Asia, most people call us the Asian BlockFi. Because BlockFi, I think, is one of the largest players in that space, and that's what they kind of call us. So, and again, I hope maybe in a year's time they don't call us the Asian BlockFi, maybe they call us the Asian Robinhood, but in a like a real Robinhood kind of sense, not so much in a controlling manner sense. Let's see. That would be really cool. Kind of getting some expansion there. And so it is a pure risk-based approach. And I get it. I get that you as a US customer, you're like, hey, you were the only kind of platform left that I could use. And I get that and understand that. But you also don't come to us and tell us that. You need to write to your regulatory body. That just makes it super, super difficult to kind of gauge risk compliance in your country. And yeah, I think from a company standpoint, it's the only kind of rational decision. Now, I get that you as a customer, you may not be super happy, but yeah, like really, again, I need to decide what's best for the company, and at the end, best for all the other customers and the entire team, and not for one individual country. So I hope you understand it a bit. Was there much discussion there, Fabio? Anything that you want to add there?
Actually, I was expecting the community to, I don't know, not be very polite about this, but actually people were very understanding because it's not the first time they encounter these issues. You have like the big on-ramps that is Banxa and Simplex, and all of them, they don't serve US customers. You have Nexo, you have Celsius, and they all received cease and desist letters in some states in the US. So they are used to it. They already know that this is an issue, and they are not really happy that there is not really regulatory clarity. So actually, most people were really understanding about it.
Yep. I just saw u-zyn. Cool to have you in. I wasn't sure if you had time, especially with family in the evening. Really nice you taking the time. Do you maybe want to take this a bit, because I feel like I'm really gonna be more of a rough kind of overview person, but you want to take a bit of a discussion with payload artists and discuss a bit on security measures that we have. Get a bit geeky, get a bit techy. I think I wouldn't be a person asking, like, I have an entire set of questions, but I think for you is like you can be way more specific because you guys are actually working on that. Is this something you would want to take a bit and discuss a bit between the two of you?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Hey everyone. Yeah, sorry, I was in another call and just finished it, so I just joined. Yeah, so I'm not sure if payload artist, his real name is Arif, he's introduced himself in this call.
Not yet. So yeah,
okay.
I'll give you the honor.
Okay, great. Yeah. So at Cake, we have always been really focused on fund security, system security, and application security. So we've always been making sure that whenever that we do, like that, if the worst thing happens, not all the funds going to get compromised, and we are able to recover from that. So we always try to make sure that all of that is covered. But I mean, we've always doing it internally, and I have some cybersecurity background myself, and lots of team members that we have also are really well versed in cybersecurity. But right now we're at the next stage where we're trying to grow much bigger, and now our customers' fund also increase a lot more. So we want to make sure that all of that is properly implemented and all of that is safe. So we have been looking for to establish a proper security team in a company to address all of that issues and all that concern. So to do some active chats as well. So fortunately, we have managed to find Arif. So he's Twitter handle artist. So he's been pretty unknown in the cybersec community. So he's a more like a white hat hacker himself. So he does quite a bit of active exploit hunting bug hunting in the cybersecurity space, and he's credited quite a few known exploits that are in the world. And we're really happy to have the company as a head of security. So he's been joining us for about a month now, and he has been looking into all the different exploits and all the different issues about all the security aspects of the company. And he has actively set up a lot of more security measures around the things that we do. Yeah, maybe if you want to introduce yourself and share a bit more about what you do at Cake.
So hi all, this is Arif, and I've been at Cake for like around a month, and I'm basically doing application security here alongside u-zyn himself. So as u-zyn said, he has like a lot of knowledge about security, and when I came in Cake, I realized that we have a lot of security champions among the developers who have a lot of understanding about application security themselves. So I think that kind of adds to the security of our applications more, and yeah, we're constantly trying to improve our practices. Like we are following standards like OWASP, SANS Top 25, then application security verification standards, and we're also performing penetration tests every 3 months. So we ensure that everything is actually safeguarded properly, and we perform vulnerability scans, static analysis, dynamic analysis, and in general, try to approach in an offensive manner towards our application security. We're also planning to implement a bug bounty program moving forward, and we feel we are ready for that. And we want to actually proactively work with different application security professionals in securing our application in a truly decentralized and crowdsourced manner with our bug bounty program, which we have plans to set up. And yeah, that's pretty. That's it.
Arif, first of all, thanks so much for all the great work you do at our team. One of my most beloved interview questions, and I hope not too many of the future candidates listen to that. But one of my most favorite questions is always what distinguishes a good security researcher in this sense, right? Or someone that's good in something from those that are like outstanding, that are the best, that are like a level higher. What distinguishes those two? And I would definitely consider you being those that are really outstanding, definitely the best. Where do you see that they have the extra edge? What do they do better to be that outstanding?
So I really say that I'm outstanding. I would say that there are a lot of great hackers around, even in our InfoSec community. But yeah, I mean, I see a lot of people in this who are rusty over time. I mean, like having performed penetration tests with various people. I think one of the key elements of staying in cybersecurity, I mean, staying relevant, is to actually be aware of the recent exploits and actively look for vulnerabilities. Like for example, I recently came across a compromised package in in npm, which happened because of maybe the poor practices of the maintainers. So in general, I would say like being aware of exploits, compromises, and vulnerabilities in your supply chain, application dependencies, and being aware about like new techniques and new software and getting updated, and even going above and beyond and performing research. I think that's one of the main things. I would say it's a lot different in the sense you have to keep learning code constantly, and that's it basically. I would say.
Sure. You've been only part of Cake now for 1 month. But like in your entire kind of history, what would be the outcome or the kind of story that you're most proud of when you're like, like I could only share one outcome, one deliverable, like that would be it. What is like the go-to story that you would have?
So I would say that I had found a bug in a HackerOne private program, which actually used with maybe user data of millions of users. So I was able to get cardholder data of maybe I would say millions of corporate users and normal users, and basically I got paid around $500 for it. But I would say that even though the bounty was less,
Wow, they got off cheap, huh? Holy crap.
yeah, I wouldn't be able to name the company, but
Yeah, sure.
I would say that for me, like money really doesn't matter. I would say that I feel proud that I was able to secure the data of these users, because I think it was a bit of complicated in the way their microservices were configured. So I was actually able to do some bypasses around the access control, access the data of all these users. So I would say I'm satisfied that I was able to secure them from a potential breach.
Cool. One of our core values is like being really customer oriented and really understanding what our customers want. Like a lot of things on the security side probably are not immediately obvious to the average person. So like what would you advise like someone listening to this saying, you know what, this is how you would see that like a company really takes care of that, versus that is when a company is, I don't know, maybe a bit sloppy, maybe a bit slacking. Like, what are the things how people, our customers at Cake, can see that we're really taking care of their funds, their data, yeah, that we are really on top of their game? What are the things that people should be expecting, seeing? Could you highlight like 2 or 3 things there?
So as I would like to constantly, at the same time, I would like to address one of the questions which has been raised by Gabriel. So he asked if like how valuable the meta attack and defense framework is basically for your attack vector mapping. So I would say that we constantly do threat modeling and like from adversarial tactics of how an attacker might be attacking our application, and we try to implement the TDPs of meta, like let's say reconnaissance. We perform reconnaissance uh, on our infrastructure, on our IP addresses, on our networks, and constantly see what vulnerabilities are there. We perform vulnerability scanning, and I would say that a lot of organizations are basically performing vulnerability scans maybe just once a year, and we are probably doing it very often. And apart from that, we are also planning on doing penetration tests, like I said, every 3 months, and that's actually one of the proactive measures which we are going to take. We're also going to perform a threat modeling against new features. Like from the perspective of an attacker, we are going to explore the ways in which an attacker can, attack an application. I would say that a lot of organizations actually address these issues when the application has been built. So what we are doing is we are basically baking security in our software development lifecycle, and we are trying to think like an attacker. We are actually defending our application from the perspective of maybe like an attacker. Like Gabriel said, like what is the importance of meta attack and defense framework? I would say that a lot of things. There's a lot of overlap with our application security. Basically, like if you think about brute force, if you think about spoofing, I would say that they apply to application security as well. And we are actually testing our application against these attack vectors more proactively, and we are implementing SAST, DAST, and SEA to actually perform static analysis, dynamic analysis against the application to find vulnerabilities, and also an SCA to keep track of our dependencies, so that we make sure that we're actually running the latest versions, which are basically patched. And there's actually we try to make sure that there are as less possibilities of having bugs or vulnerabilities as possible, I would say. And I think that it would be kind of like snake oil if I say that we are 100% secure. I mean, no organization can be 100% secure, and I've seen a lot of organizations claiming that. But we would say that we are trying our level best. We are trying hard to actually, attain high standards. In fact, we are actually reviewing our applications against, like I said, OWASP, ASVS, and we are testing our applications against OWASP, WSTG standards to see, like if we have any security issues, and we are proactively patching them and prioritizing them. So I'd say we are trying to build a security culture among our employees and sticking to best practices. I would say that. So we are actively focusing on these aspects, which a lot of organizations are probably, they think this later in the software development life cycle, which we are addressing in the development, I would say. So I'd say this would kind of set us apart.
Cool. u-zyn, anything from your side?
Yeah, but when I chatted to Arif earlier in the days before he joined us, like one of the things that I really stood out with me is that he mentioned the shift left practice on software development. So that I think that's also distinguishing himself from a lot of the security engineer out there, that they usually think from the attacker's point of view, much on the software development point of view. So Arif thinks a lot on how we can prevent security vulnerabilities from being created in the first place. So a lot of shift left approach is being introduced in our product, in our software development cycle, to make sure that we catch all these bugs as early as possible, even before it hit our staging server, for example. So yeah, so and when it hits staging server, then we do more and more testing, and all of that. Yeah, Arif is bringing all these good practices to us to make sure that our security it's more and more secure and safe. Arif, do you have anything to add on that? The DevOps and shift left practice that you preach about so much?
So I would like to, first of all, I would like to thank u-zyn about it. And I would say that a lot of shift left is happening on one of our decentralized projects, which is, I would say, a sister project, which is DeFi chain. And if you want to have a look at that, you can probably take a look at the DeFi chain GitHub repos. So I would say that shift left is basically targeted at addressing these security issues even before they go into the live application. So basically when we develop, we are basically having a set of requirements into like features or maybe bug fixes. Like let's say for example, you are facing an issue in our web app. You're basically giving it to our developers, so it becomes a business requirement for us. It becomes like something which we want to fix in the next iterations. So let's say all these things, we piece them together, and we when we put them together, we decide on what security enhancements we can make on these. Like let's say we are implementing a new feature, we would probably plan on how an attacker can potentially exploit it. Like let's say double spend, or let's say if an attacker can view any other user's information, and then we actually try to see like how we can secure the application against these abuse scenarios. And at the same time, we do scan every pull request. Let's say a developer commits code. Is he actually committing a secret, or maybe like let's say an API key? So we actually actively scan for secrets. We have proper secret management policies and implementations. And yeah, I would say so. Basically, shift left approach is like static. It has basically various things like static analysis, like dynamic analysis, which is basically penetration testing and application security testing. And then we also try to bake application security testing to our integration testing to see if how each feature is basically is implemented securely or not. So I would say that it is actually a combination of several ingredients of security into the development practices. And a lot of big organizations are actually lacking in this, but we are trying to actively explore ways in which we can make our security better and better at every stage of development, starting from writing code to deploying to testing to quality assurance. So I'll say that.
Cool. Thanks, Arif. Like a lot of our users are also crypto enthusiasts as well, crypto users as well. Do you have any like tips that how you could keep your crypto safe if so on Cake, on how you can keep your crypto safe on Cake, and also how you can keep your crypto safe so if you do it on your own. So any tips that you can share to the general community?
So I would say that one of the major problems is scamming, and again, potentially like attackers have come up with new methodologies like you can be seeing a lot of scammers that they're on Telegram these days, and like phishing websites which are claiming to be a website, but they actually taking in your credentials or maybe your private key. So basically, I would say that one of the things which you should be aware of is constantly rotating your passwords, using a password manager, and not reusing credentials. Like I said, there was a supply chain attack this last week in which very popular. I mean, it was like around 70 downloads on this package. So the developer had passwords, and he mentions a comment that uh, like I have been getting a lot of emails lately, and it wasn't a red like red flag for him that his account credentials might have been compromised. So I would say that you should actually you should actively look into your personal hygiene and use services like Have I Been Pwned to check if you have been compromised in any breach. You can set up an alert on Have I Been Pwned. And basically, I guess a lot of services like LastPass, I'm not recommending any of them, but you can potentially use them and see if, like create different passwords for different services. And apart from that, I see a lot of people also, note-taking applications for passwords. I would say I would highly recommend against using note-taking applications for keeping any secrets or maybe like mnemonics or private keys. And I would say, like encrypt any secret data like by using PGP keys. You can encrypt any private data you have. And apart from that, keeping your software updated using keeping antivirus software. So on your PC or computer. And apart from that, I would say if you're using Telegram, you should take care of certain things like you should set your security settings to only allow people who are your contacts from adding you to groups, because I've seen a tendency of scammers to create large groups with like artificially inflated accounts. So basically what you can do is you can go into your Telegram and only select that only your contacts would be able to add you to groups, so scammers wouldn't be able to add you to such. So then you can go ahead and check your privacy settings on the applications you're using. So that can be all of these things like personal hygiene is, I would say, is a factor you have to consider, like how you're storing passwords, how you're storing your private keys, how you're storing your wallets, uh, secrets, and all these things. I would say suggest practicing secure ways like using password managers and constantly using services like have I been pwned to check if you have been breached, and then rotate the password. So say all these small things matter for your security, especially being in crypto. You're actually going to be likely targeted by a lot of attackers, a lot of scammers. So yeah, and again, another tip I would say is bookmarking the sites which you're using. Like if you're using Cake DeFi, you should bookmark Cake DeFi, and you should not you should always uh, if you're ever in doubt, you should actually click on the bookmark. Like if you're in Cake DeFi, if you're using any other site, try to keep that in bookmark and only access the bookmark links. So that can be actually a secure practice from your side. So these are actually some small things you can take care of.
Maybe I want to add something small here. Never ever will somebody important or anybody reach out on Telegram to you. Not a support from any exchange, from Cake DeFi, and not from any other crypto. If you receive a personal message on Telegram, block and report always. Nobody will ever give you something for free on crypto. Not on Twitter, not on Facebook, not on any other social media platform. If somebody says you get something for free or send me one, you will get two back, this is a scam, always. There is nothing in this whole space and in the whole world, nobody gives you stuff for free. And also, if you are contacting customer support of any exchange, Cake DeFi, Binance, it doesn't matter. If somebody asks you for a private key for your seed phrase, it is always a scam. Nobody will ever ask you for your private seed. Just keep this in mind, please.
Yeah, really good points. Cool. With that, we're getting to the full hour. Then, yeah, hey, Arif, I really appreciate it. Yeah, for the contribution, obviously, to the company. Also today during the Twitter space, u-zyn, thanks so much for coming on. Fabio, as a bit of a kind of jump off, what are a few things on the graphical UI side that like the team is working on that a lot of the team members, a lot of the community members have been asking? What are some things that people can be looking forward to?
Yeah, there's actually a few things. I think we had since when is the transparency report coming? And I think you confirmed this this morning that this will happen this week, probably at the end of the week. We publish our quarterly reports where we give a lot of insight in our finances, in our growth, in everything. It's a really big document, and it's almost done, as I understand it. Then we have within November, of course, we have lots of people want to track their investments, so they want to have pie charts, they want to have diagrams, they want to have insights in how their investments are performing, and this will come. We shared a few sneak peeks on Telegram on this, but this, in my opinion, Ian, actually our design lead, is here in the space as well, and he had oversight of this project. In my opinion, it will look a lot better than the one Coinbase does, and I personally I really like Coinbase and how it looks. Those diagrams and those graphs are really beautiful. In my opinion, ours are on the same level, if not better. And they're coming soon. And then I think we have a few promotions. I'm not sure what I'm allowed to say on that, so I will pass the ball to you, Julian.
Yeah, just tease the promotions. Don't go into the details yet. Yeah, it's
okay.
Just tease. Yeah.
Okay, we have something planned in November, and it will be like we're looking into. I'm not gonna go into specific, but there will be deposit promotions, there will be referral promotions, there will be something for 11/11. This is called Singles Day. It's the biggest shopping day in the world. We will have something, I think, for Black Friday and or in the week of Black Friday and Cyber Monday. Where we actually plan to give out real world prices. It can be a phone or something. We're looking into that. And I think we're also looking into a lending promotion.
No comment.
Okay. Okay, sorry if I said too much, but yeah.
I said no comment. That means no, not denying, not confirming. Cool. Yeah, great. With that, obviously, if you want to work for this super amazing company, then go to cakedefi.com/jobs. We have like 22 job openings. We really expanding everything, growing left and right. Obviously, if you're not a customer yet, what are you waiting for? Like, if not now, then when? If you're not using any, or if you're not using all of our services, then why not? They're absolutely outstanding. Check them out. Yeah. And other than that, hey, thanks so much. I hope the hour was full of value for you. We're gonna do this always on Tuesday, 12:30 Europe time, 6:30 p.m. here in Singapore, 6:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time in the US. We also upload this to the podcast so that you can listen to this afterwards if you're not joining us live. Again, I appreciate it. Thanks so much for all the support and trust. And I hope that entire episode here helped to kind of increase that even more. See you next week. All the best.